and welcome back to my channel. Previously, on Kyle Glosher Studios, I started telling you about how I got involved with activism. If you recall, my family got involved with the disability rights group ADAPT, and I told you how my dad and Steve Verheiden started Wisconsin ADAPT. My family and I traveled caravan style all over the United States with Wisconsin ADAPT. Everybody met up at my house in Twin Lakes on Friday or Thursday night, depending on how far of a drive we had. We had a big old slumber party, then got up, ate breakfast, and we crammed chairs into vans. That is how I met Mara Lee, a woman that was missing both her arms and legs. She operates her wheelchair with her chin. She was a student at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. My cousin Missy knows her. Yay, we did not have luxurious coach buses like Rochester ADAPT Grants, or even Voices from Independence has now. We did not have backing of a Center for Independent Living, which I feel in a way is a good thing. The director of the Office for Students with Disabilities at Penn West University, California, said we advocate for both the students and the university. I am sorry, but no, you can't do both. It is like having the prosecutor and the defendant's lawyer be the same person. There will always be a conflict of interest. You would always side with the ones who pays you. So, Wisconsin ADAPT, who had no financial ties, had crappy, old, worn out vans. We even used our own blue GMC Safari, and we had that, oh my gosh, until at least after we moved to Pennsylvania. That van had a standard roof, so when I sat in my chair I had to sit hunched over. We did not need tie-downs and seat belts. By the time we got everybody crammed in so tightly that you were not going anywhere, we got at least 3 500-pound power wheelchairs in one van. We had CB radios, so the drivers could talk to each other. We did not have cell phones back then. A disabled woman from Milwaukee, named Patty, bought an accessible van with a hydraulic wheelchair lift which was way too big for her. She ended up donating it to Wisconsin ADAPT, and we dubbed it the Patty Wagon. I am not sure if other chapters joined us, or we drove on our own. Once, I think we were on our way to Houston, Texas, and the Patty Wagon's engine overheated and it needed a new engine. We sat at this restaurant from 9 in the morning to 8 at night. Lucky, they had an all-you-can-eat buffet. We took advantage of that. Once we got the rental, we reconfigured everything and everybody, taking the seats out of the rental, and headed down to Houston. It was so hot and one of the targets was a nursing home for babies. Yay, that is how messed up this country is. A nursing home for babies and young children with disabilities. You know they weren't getting a free appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. I am sorry, regardless of party affiliation, anybody that can surround himself with Chick-fil-A, a brand that actively advocates for the genocide of a certain minority, is not a person I want to do business with and certainly should hold public office, as you will soon see. Even though the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed, that dirty dog, Greyhound, was still refusing to buy left-equipped buses. Greyhound, here in the United States, is one of the largest motor coach companies. According to Google, Greyhound and its affiliates serve almost 2,300 destinations. It is the most affordable way to get around the country, Canada, and Mexico. Instead, they would take folks out of their wheelchairs, which any time you are separated from your chair or other mobility devices, you run a risk of it being lost, stolen, or damaged. The stations are not necessarily in safe neighborhoods. Now obviously blocking coaches and holding them hostage wasn't working. So, what we instead did to get attention is on a certain day, a Saturday, in cities all over the United States, ADAPT chapters would send one of its members on a Greyhound bus from one city to another, for instance from Milwaukee to Chicago. Now this is before the age of Facebook and other social media sites, so we had to rely on traditional news. Do you realize how difficult traditional news is to cover if you are not some famous actors like Clint Eastwood? For example, the recent housing authority strike started on a Monday. I am sure the union sent out press packets Sunday or Friday afternoon, and it took until Tuesday to get the news. Most bus trips have multiple legs with multiple transfers. These Greyhound employees are trained to operate motor coaches, not trained to carry passengers. Therefore, it is dangerous. Plus, most passengers would consider rude to be carried on and off the bus. To illustrate this point, ADAPT arranged a ride-in. One Saturday, ADAPT chapters across the nation did a ride-in, where we showed just how dangerous it was for people with disabilities to get loaded on and off buses. Airplanes are not wheelchair accessible, but at least they have aisle chairs. I was not the one riding, but I saw how dangerous it could be. I even experienced this firsthand on my 6th grade trip to Washington, D.C. Eventually, Greyhound bought left-equipped buses so people can stay in their wheelchairs while on board. You have to call 48 hours in advance. Even when you call local paratransit bus, you have to call 48 hours in advance. I recently saw this post from Meso on Wheels of a school bus with a wheelchair left down, and the caption read, "All school buses should have these," which I couldn't agree more. However, school districts would argue it would eliminate seats. That argument doesn't hold up because it would eliminate the need for a quote special bus, which means less diesel fuel. The last national action we went on with Wisconsin Adapt was Atlanta in 1996. The cool thing was the Summer Olympics were happening at the same time. My dad met the then CEO of Tri-County Patriots for Independent Living, Kathleen Klinman, through Adapt. My dad was pushing Kathleen ''S wheelchair into a building. She got in, but he got arrested. She posted his bail. She recruited my dad, and that is how I moved to Pennsylvania. My dad helped build Southwestern Pennsylvania Adapt. In October, I miss a day of action to go get measured for a new powered chair. Janine Bertram, the CEO of her late husband ''S wheelchair company, told my parents and me she could get me a new wheelchair faster. So, I missed a day of protesting to go get fitted. In February, my mom and I went back to D.C. to pick my new chair up. I remember because instead of going to the Valentine's Day dance with Liza, who was nothing more than just a friend, her dad was afraid that cerebral palsy was hereditary. Liza got pregnant when we were seniors, and no, I was not the dad. The dad was a much older gentleman who probably didn't give a crap about Liza or her son. We had a threat at school. Thankfully, it was a hoax. However, as a result, they ban old bags except for the students with disabilities. Yeah, because you were disabled, you wouldn't do anything. It was not the entire district, just middle through high school where you need a backpack the most. So I made my A follow the policy, which she didn't like. Hey, what do you expect from Appalachia? If they really cared so much about security, make everyone wear their identification cards. Make everyone go through a metal detector and scan every bag. Have a school resource officer pat down me. The administration refuses to meet with us. So, me being 6th grade class president, asked for a meeting with the administration. They refuse. I said, look, if I don't get a meeting by Friday afternoon, Then Monday morning we were going basically on strike, and I was serious. My mom and dad supported me. The administration met with me. The high school student council, which I joined in high school, ironed out the details. Students were allowed to bring their backpacks into school, but they had to leave them in their lockers. This was the first time I took on a leadership role. We continued going on adapt actions. We went to Memphis in 1998, which is when I got the shirt that I wore when I spoke at the Democratic National Convention. I was in the middle of a massive project at school that lasted 3 months and included all the core subjects. I just got back from the class trip to Washington, D.C. I mean, when I got back, I mean, I was home for less than 18 hours. Luckily, everything was pretty much done as far as the final report, and I had my part in my device. By the time I came home, I needed a mental health day. We did our presentations for our classmates, our parents, and the community the week that I got back. Now that was exhausting. In 1999 in Columbus, and I believe they gave ADAPT a proclamation welcoming us, and ADAPT took over the entire city and held it hostage. The police didn't know what to do. It was so much fun. Johnny and Cassie got married, and my 2 brothers and I were in their wedding. State troopers escorted ADAPT out. They actually passed a city ordinance that bans 3 or more people with disabilities can't congregate in one area at one time. In December of '99, Tash asked me to do my first keynote address in Chicago. It was also around this time I went to protest Peter Singer and learned about Tracy Lenore murder, which I discussed at great length in another video. That would bring us to the end of the '90s and closed out this video. Join me next week where I get yelled at for not wearing my ADAPT shirt. That is embarrassing. Please give me a like on this video. If you are new, I would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button, and I will see you soon.